Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to be doing something a bit ambitious, I guess. It's going to be a pick a deck reading. Your choices are the Wild Unknown Tarot and Animal Spirits, the Tea Leaf Fortune cards with the Kawaii Tarot, the Tarot Apokalypsis with the Wisdom of Lord Whispers of Lord Ganesha, and the Threads of Fate Tarot, and Oracle cards. So I guess this will be 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And I'm gonna start right in. So sit back, enjoy the show. I guess we'll see if I do all these in one sitting. There is no formal plan for any of these. Whatever comes out will be what comes out. I mean, it's a pretty standard formula on this channel. Well, sometimes I come on with a well, I used to come on with like new spreads all the time. I honestly ain't built a new spread. Well, I did Jupiter's about a year ago. It was probably a little over a year ago because I think I came home around sometime this time last year. And I built a spread after that one, right? Maybe? Yes, maybe. It's been a minute. Okay. Oops, I should have got the book. I should have grabbed the book for these animals. But I guess we're going off of intuition today. The good thing about animals is there's always your own associations that you have with them. I will try to be a bit more expansive in my thinking, be a little bit more open to seeing the things outside of my own necessary realm of knowledge, because I'm not using the book. But also, it'll come to me in a way that it needs to come to me to get me to see whatever it is that I need to see. Hopefully, you find something of resonance that is helpful or assistive or whatever you need. So, I think I want like 2 of these. Oh, oh. Sure. Bottom of the deck is the cosmic egg. The cosmic egg is representative of all 5 elements: earth in the shell, air in the membrane, water in the white, and fire in the yolk. And then the snake around it represents the element of life. It's a pre-magician energy. It's a foil energy, I guess, because they say that that's what's in the fool's knapsack. It's all the elements, and right off the bat, he meets the magician that shows him how to use them. Now, he doesn't necessarily get a proficiency in how to use them. He or she, they, don't necessarily get a proficiency. Oh my gosh. Okay. Bottom of the deck over here is the Ten of Pentacles, which is interesting because the Ten of Swords and then the Eight of Swords also almost came out. So they don't necessarily get magician-like proficiency in the beginning, but they get a fundamental understanding of how to use their tools. And then by the end, they become a master with the World card. And then I guess they kind of sort of do it all over again, this time as an alchemist instead of as a fool, or as a seasoned fool at the very least. And each major in that journey teaches us something else, something different, something new. It rounds us out. So the 2 animal spirits are Cobra and Hawk. This is interesting because I feel like there's a bird. Oh, it's Horus, I think. Horus and Apep, the bird that eats the snake. And it's symbolic of chaos coming, or order coming to root out chaos after a certain period of time. Let's do this. Why not? The hawk. So it's the kettle hawk. So hawks teach us a certain amount of restraint. Wait, I think it was. Because the Peregrine Falcon is all about speed. It's teaching us a little bit about restraint and precision and accuracy and striking in the moment. Basically, like striking when the iron's hot type of energy. And then the Cobra in this deck, it speaks of a teacher or a mentor. There is a certain energy with its tail that it's able to sort of like coil around and to protect and to shield. So your cards are the Ten of Swords. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! The Ten of Wands, the Son of Swords, and the Three of Wands. With the Ten of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Also, the Eight of Swords made an appearance, but I put that one back. What's interesting is we have the cosmic egg here, right? Here's a snake. I think the hawk is going to be teaching us how to find the water. Because we have 10 swords, 10 wands, and 10 pentacles. There are no cups down here. It's almost the only element that's missing. But the cards that actually came out, it's all wands and swords. This could be an energy of like distracting yourself from doing certain things. Like because there's a Ten of Swords transformation or ending that needs to happen and needs to take place in your life. But with the Ten of Wands, for whatever reason, it's being prolonged. And so it's like the longer you prolong this thing, the heavier it gets. Like 5 pounds isn't necessarily a lot, or 1 pound isn't necessarily a lot. But if you carry that extra pound around all day, eventually it's going to start to wear on the body. And that's why so many of our bodies are breaking down in the ways that they break down nowadays, because we're carrying a lot more stress mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, even maybe, than our bodies can handle. And to be in a stressful situation and then to come out of it, that's one thing, but to be constantly subjected to stress, it's like it wears faster and faster and faster on the body. It reminds me of, like back in the caveman days when your body would kick into fight or flight mode because you were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or a kind of predator. Like that's what that system was built for. But nowadays it's like our fight or flight systems kick in, our anxiety kicks in whenever maybe we go to engage and interact with somebody that we work with that we don't necessarily get along with, or when we go home if the home environment isn't great. And there are so many other situations that really put us in that zone that, again, the body isn't meant to be subjected to the chemicals and the hormones and the things that it produces under those situations for as extended a periods of time as it is. The Son of Swords here means that you need to come in and speak something. Or this could be information coming to your awareness that changes the dynamic surrounding whatever the Ten of Swords is in your life. Ten of Swords is Gemini energy. So you could look, Gemini Sagittarius. This is where the nodes are. Okay, word. So there is definitely something, with the Ten of Pentacles and the Cosmic Egg at the bottom of both of these decks, I don't want to say that your abundance is on the line, but in successfully navigating these challenges, you will significantly free yourself up to experience quite an expansion in whatever realm is affected. This is nodal energy, but it's the third decan. So that's when they first shifted. So from last May to roughly now-ish, they're like 17 degrees now. So they've been out of the third decan for a minute. But from last May until now, potentially, your attention has probably been more drawn into one area or facet in your life because the divine is trying to point you in that direction with this hawk energy. It has the oversight. Also, with this oversight, it can see how these things influence and impact you beyond what you can see. So it may affect you in ways that you don't even know, and it may be preventing whatever abundance it is that you're trying to manifest again in ways that you wouldn't even correlate to this. And so it's like you continue to focus on this, not having addressed this, making this heavier with the Ten of Wands, and also keeping this at bay, which adds to the mental sort of stress and maybe even spiritual stress at that point if you're like, well, I'm trying to manifest this, but it's not manifesting. Like, what's wrong with my spirituality or whatever, right? Potentially. The Ten of Wands can also be a card of spiritual journeys. And I kind of see that in this deck, but it should be about navigating through the dark nights to find the light. There is a light on the other side of this. It just requires us to go through the things that maybe frighten us the most. And that could be something like rejection. I don't know why it just felt like rejection, but or a fear that if you acknowledge something, then it will change the dynamics in a certain way. But it's almost like the dynamic is already changed, regardless of whether or not you speak the truth. Because in your mind, it already is what it is that you think it has the opportunity to become. Or you're already in the space of evaluating whether or not something can more fully enter that space. But not everything behaves the same way in all spaces. And so it's not necessarily an accurate depiction, right? It's like you can't set a glass of water out in the dead of winter in the deep south and then sit a bottle of water out in the dead of winter in the north and expect for the same result, because in one of those places it'll freeze and the other one it won't. And you may say, well, the time is the same and the conditions should theoretically be the same because it's the same season, but the climates are different, or there are other environmental factors that are different. And so this could be an energy of you communicating whatever it is that has this sort of disconnect in place in order for things to align. Now, the Three of Wands is typically things aligning in such a way to get you to see something that only you can do. It then becomes the space of where other people can support us in our endeavors, but where we need to take a stand for ourselves and we need to begin to walk for ourselves and act on behalf of ourselves. And I think it's really furthering this energy that's really going to lead us here. Because whatever this is, because of this, it reads like it's going to require more of our participation. And speaking of people that you can kind of sort of lean on for support, that's this Cobra energy here, which is it's the space of a mentor. Could be spiritual, could be physical, could be a physical mentor that helps you with spiritual matters. And it also carries this energy here. Like, this is the divine trying to get you to focus somewhere around that area. This is someone in your experience that has some knowledge, some information, some wisdom, some experience, something that you could potentially learn from them in this way. And again, like I was just saying, the Fool already has all of the tools at their disposal, but it's the Magician that teaches them how to use them in conjunction with each other. Now, the Fool doesn't necessarily get like a high level of proficiency or a certain level of expertise from the Magician, because it's the first step on a 21-step path. And I can definitely see some Fool energy in this owl coming in after these tens. And then that Three of Wands, it takes on an energy of being cognizant and aware that when you enter a new arena, when you come into a new space, when your environment changes, things may not necessarily play out the way that they used to. So this could have been a King of Swords energy in the old pond, but as a smaller fish comparatively, and a now bigger pond comparatively. You know less now than you thought you knew before. When you were the bigger fish in the smaller pond, you knew a lot more. It's like you ran that circle enough to know the sort of layout and things like that. But when you move, you learn a whole new you learn a whole new sort of neighborhood, a whole new area, a new series and way of interacting. One second, y'all. Sorry about that. Everything is new, and there may be some similarities, but before you decide that something is exactly the same, you should give yourself enough space or give the situation enough space to allow it to play out, because it may play out differently. And again, this is the son of swords, it's not the father, so it doesn't know everything, and even the father still has more to learn, right? But it's a little immature because it's still getting used to this space again. Also, with the hawk and this son of swords energy, it feels like spirit is really trying to meet you halfway on something. And so you may be sort of being pulled outside of your comfort zone in some way, but you may find more reassurance than you would necessarily expect. I'm gonna drink some tea because I literally just remembered it's here, and it's actually pretty good. It's Passion, by what, Tazo or Tazo. I had a friend who showed me like his little tea thing on Snapchat yesterday, day before yesterday, and I was like, oh, like I'm getting into tea. Like, how is it? And he was like, but the passion. So that's why I got it, because I'm a sheep. Ooh, it's got a lot of flavors. I was eating some beef pho earlier, or beef flavored pho. It didn't have any meat in it. With that, there were certain flavors in this tea that I didn't taste. But now that my palate has cleansed itself a little bit and I've had a little bit of water and some other stuff, it's like there are flavors in here that I can taste now. Like it's slightly sour up front, but then it goes away as other flavors come in. And that could also speak to this, right? Maybe because of what you've experienced in the past, as you're coming into these new cycles, and maybe you're trying to be open, it may be like this sour initial reaction. It's like you get triggered a little bit, but then after, like, as it sits on your tongue, the other flavors come into being, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's actually not that type of energy. This is such an interesting energy because it feels like the bottom of the deck on both sides are gorgeous. You have spirit coming in the hawk, also a mentor type of energy with the cobra. But up here, like Ten of Swords, Ten of Wands, Son of Swords, Three of Wands. Like starting with the Ten of Swords and the Ten of Wands is huge. And the Eight of Swords was here. And so maybe with the Eight of Swords not being here again, it's like you're beginning to see now. And maybe that's another energy with the Son of Wands. It's now you're beginning to interact with your environment in a way that you didn't necessarily before. So you're building that experience in interacting with people and your space in a new way, in a different way, in a freer way, hopefully. That will lead to more and more of these burdens being dropped and more of these things that need to be put to bed being put to bed. And it actually gets you closer to what your vision is. But I think your vision will also be expanding because there are things that you can't conceive of in this space or in the space that you're coming into that weren't in the space that you came out of. And maybe you spent so long in that space, you kind of think again that you know the lay of the land and you know how things play out. But that's most definitely not the case. Your past experiences can inform a little bit your opinion, but this is something completely new. Or it's new enough that you should be a little flexible. I don't really like saying should be, even though I kind of say it often. Every time I say it, I cringe a little bit. It would probably benefit you in some way to be more open minded and to engage in a way that doesn't reaffirm and continue to manifest the things in your life that you're no longer interested in. Because as long as that's something, as long as that's a belief that you hold on to, and as long as you act in alignment or act from that space of belief, you're going to get the same thing, regardless of if it's different or not. Because we as people, we have the power to convince ourselves of things. And it reminds me of delusion. Convince yourself. But delusion, I think a lot of times it has a certain context to it. A lot of times delusion is like, we think we're bigger or we think things are better than what it is that they actually are. But delusion can also be you convincing yourself that things are worse or that you're smaller than you actually are, than they actually are. And it's the same energy. So that's why the Ten of Cups isn't here. Because I was like, that feels like a little bit of a Piscean energy, honestly. That's more the shadow of Pisces. Um, when Pisces, that's like the house of undoing, the undoing of the 12th house. When Pisces can sort of lock themselves into a negative fantasy or lock themselves into a nightmare that twists everything in a negative way rather than that like more stereotypically delusional Piscean energy that's the rose tinted glasses that makes everything better than it actually is. I don't know, it's time to clean house in some ways. Clean up. I don't know. Maybe this. That's what I got for you. I feel like there's no real advice, but I also don't like spirit is here and something somewhere, somebody is there in the physical with the cobra energy. This is like the 50-foot perspective and the on the ground perspective. But you're lost in the weeds somewhere. And again, it feels mostly like something that maybe you don't want to admit to or something that you don't want to see, but that's the thing about like whether we admit something or not, it's always affecting us. But the only way for us to really get over it or to work through it is to be truthful. So I wish you all the best. I'm actually going to get a final message from these as well that may or may not relate to that. I just saw the Mother of Swords, and that was the energy I was getting with the cobra coiling around something um, to protect it. Maybe you can also feel a little stifled by someone else's protectivity. Like someone else is trying to protect you, or it's like someone else thinks that they know what's best. And it leaves you unhappy, unfulfilled, or their advice isn't necessarily resonant to who you are. And so when you follow their advice, it doesn't really lead you to any happiness. It kind of leads you further from it. And if you can see that now, then maybe that's something that you need to deal with or handle. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Swords, so it decided to come out after all. This looks like a fully cooked butterfly who was afraid that it's a butterfly. It's a fully cooked butterfly, right? But it's not out of the chrysalis yet. And so it doesn't yet know that it has the ability to fly. It knows that as a caterpillar, gravity would take over and it would fall onto these swords. This butterfly cannot see that it's no longer a caterpillar. This butterfly doesn't yet know that it can fly because it hasn't put itself in a situation to do it. And it's like once you're in that space, nature just takes over and you just start doing it automatically. And then by that point, you're like, oh my gosh, what was I afraid of those swords for? Like I can fly right over them. there's a certain element of trust here. And with the Six of Pentacles, if we're talking about certain elements of trust, it's like the more you trust in the process, the more you trust your growth, the more you'll experience these moments and these feelings of no longer succumbing to the things that it is that you used to succumb to. Which overall, it leads you to an anti-victim mentality, I guess. It's not necessarily a victor's mentality yet. It can be. But it's more like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have to be afraid of that anymore. And I don't have to be afraid of that. Not necessarily at the point of like, I don't have to be afraid of anything because spirit is on my side. Just more so noticing the things that you don't have to be worrisome of anymore, it feels like. So I was going to find a message up here. Who we cutting to? The dragonfly. Dragonfly speaks of ancient knowledge and wisdom. Dragonflies have been around for a minute. And then the lamb. Was that a card? Oh, well, there we go. That was quick. Bottom of the deck is the snake. So here's the snake. Here's you, I guess. The cobra was a more wizened you. I guess if with it being the space of the more wizened you, it could be your higher self through this space. Or it could be your future self through the space of your higher self that's calling you towards moving through something because there's a part of you that's sort of already on the other side. That could also be the you that you envision yourself to be in some ways. And you become that version of yourself by handling things and dealing with things in the way that that version of you would do it. And I was thinking about astrology earlier. And if you've watched me before, you probably know my stance on astrology in general. But it's like, you know, we wait for these transits and we wait for these alignments and conjunctions to happen in the sky, but transits are constant things. Planets are constantly moving. It's not like you wake up one day and they just like overnight they decided to be somewhere else in the sky. And with that, I'm just saying that like it speaks to the energies that are constantly in motion. So if you're not moving, if you're not going anywhere, then I don't know if like a transit is necessarily going to instantaneously teleport you. Like you're not overnight going to become that person that you're going to be, that version of you that you're manifesting. That doesn't happen without you doing the things to become that person. The card that came out is the Beaver. And the Beaver was in reverse. I don't usually read these in reverse. I think the Beaver in reverse, it's a damning energy. I've turned it upright because this isn't an upright deck. But in reverse, it's a damning energy. Whereas you could be building a new foundation and a, like, I could say in a more aligned space in a certain way. It's like limiting it, damming up the rivers that need to flow for the overall health of the ecosystem instead of just damming up the ones that kind of sort of are subjected to causing lots of damage because of flooding, right? And it's almost like the beaver is nature's way of preserving certain things, but you can't dam every river because then it's like the land will die. And then the creatures further on down the line, like the fish, are going to dry up. And so what are they going to eat? It's something that it has implications beyond what it is that we are initially thinking or planning. And it's a little bit emotionally reserved, or a lot of it emotionally reserved and isolated. And with that snake at the bottom, it was biting its own tail, right? And so it becomes an energy then of us not molting or shedding the things that we need to shed to continue to grow, forcing ourselves to stay in old skin that we no longer belong in. And that way we're constantly subjected to growing pains because we've outgrown the box that we force ourselves to stay in. And it's almost like, you know, you're not necessarily going to shrink. So until you move to a bigger space, you're always going to feel that discomfort. And you can do a little bit here and there to mitigate in the moment those feelings, but a feeling that's not addressed comes back. And then if you're in the space of not addressing feelings, then you go back to whatever bottle or a video game or whatever your coping mechanism of choice is, whatever your vice of choice, it increases your dependency on it. But again, it's an energy of it's time to you to do more, to really start to become that person that you envision yourself to be. So that's what I got for you, deck ones. To the wild unknowns out there. I hope y'all have a good whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make that which you wish to experience your reality. Because you're the only one that can do it for you. Spirit can bring you opportunities, and spirit can bring you people, and spirit can bring you resources, but if you don't take advantage of those opportunities, if you don't listen to or even form bonds, some kind of bond with those people, if you don't like utilize those resources, then nothing changes. And spirit can't necessarily force you into any of that. The best they can do is line you up to receive it, line you up to begin to be it. So, again, all the best, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, tours, pow tours, deck tours, my movers and shakers and doers. What's up? Let's get into this. Movers and shakers and doers. I'm loving that energy. Well, let's see. Let's see if that carries through. I'm feeling a certain. Oh, I thought I was using the wisdom of Lord Ganesha for a second. I was going to say I'm feeling a certain courage energy, a certain drive energy. You know, it feels like there's almost an energy of those who would hold the line, those who would continue no matter what the circumstances of the environment would indicate or reflect, who eventually see what it is that they wish made manifest because they hold the line. They don't introduce any doubt or anything that would cause a line to be shaky. Queens of Cups, those with the vision who know how to maintain and hold a vision. Amen. Well, I don't want to say amen. I don't know. Let's go to church. There's the King of Cups now with the Seven of Swords. Oh, goodness. Well, that's what I want to say, but, with these tea leaf cards, we'll see. We'll see, because sometimes they be like, oop. Oh, well, there's the Four of Wands, where the Seven of Swords was before. Well, I did talk about holding a vision. I never choose what deck, or I never pick before I do this. I say that every time I do this because I always forget to pick before I do it. And then after, it's like, well, I don't necessarily forget what I said. So, Knight of Wands with the Page of Cups. Okay. All right. Now, these are going to be a little difficult, but I think I'm going to shuffle this one in halves. Or I could try to use the bag today. They say that the bag is meant for this. Maybe I'll just shake up the bag and then dig in there and pick a card or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll get on YouTube and I'll search somebody using the bag for the Tea Leaf Oracle card so I don't F my deck up because I can be not the most coordinated person. I can be a little clumsy, a little absent-minded, a little forgetful. Or a lot of forgetful and clumsy and absent-minded. I think I can be a little absent-minded sometimes, or a lot of times, and that's what makes me so clumsy. Actually, I take that back because I'm just naturally a little clumsy too. So, it's tough. It's a hard life, said Annie. 7 toes. It's a hard knock life. Okay. All right. Oh, see this? When this deck talk, it talk. So we have, who is this? Chain. Chain at the bottom. Chain of events that will affect your life in this first one. We have February, which is now. We have Ram, which is Aries season potentially. A stubborn, aggressive person. And also heals. Obstacles to overcome. I love a stubborn, aggressive person with obstacles to overcome. This is the movers and shakers and doers energy. This is exactly what I was talking about. Maybe not necessarily the aggressive part, but aggressive, I can even still being like stubbornly aggressive or aggressively stubborn in a situation where there are obstacles to overcome, in a space where there's a chain of events that will affect your life. And then the month of February, I think it's interesting that for the month of February, it looks like we have this wind blowing, and it's been cold in America. All over the place. um, Also, it reminds me the other day, on the day of the new moon in Aquarius, it said a north wind that blows on it. Let me find it. It was like a north wind that blows on a new moon will last until it's full or something like that. Now, luckily, I keep these in order. So I did a good thing by tearing off the sheets of my of my little everyday calendar, but I'm still holding on to all of them. So you know, baby steps. That was the wolf moon. It says a north wind with a new moon will hold until the full. And then there's the image of this dude huffing and puffing and blowing skyscrapers down. New moon in Aquarius, so Aquarian energy here. Talking about wind. And when talking about wind holding until full, that's a very Aquarian energy. It fixed air, right? Typically, when it comes to the wind, it doesn't necessarily hold that long, so it can be a little bit more Gemini in nature. I wouldn't necessarily say Libran, but if it's a breeze, I'd say it's Libran. If it's a little bit more tempestuous or temperamental, it's more Gemini, and if it's more sustained, it's more Aquarian. And then like sustained heavy winds can really cause a lot of damage, and that lends to the Aquarian nature of, I guess, revolutionaryism, um, or of change. Because in some cases, if you know that that's the environment that you live in, maybe it should be effectively weatherproofed enough that it would be windproof. So what it can do is it can sort of highlight and illuminate areas where maybe we were a little lax, where we needed to be a little bit more diligent or vigilant. But I'm loving this ram in the heels energy. I don't know if there's going to be a culmination that you're going to be noticing something this month that is the result of many things prior to this month, or if this month is going to be sort of, or if this is signaling a time for you to be a little bit more conscious in your decision making, because one choice and decision will influence and impact another. And it's like, if this is moving forward, then it's almost like you have the opportunity to reduce the amount of challenge or obstacles in your path with just being a little bit more conscientious. If this is happening now, then it just may be requiring some bravery on your part. Very Five of Swords energy as well. The Five of Swords to me is coming to mean it's these spaces where like everyone else would tell you to give up, but you know that it's worth fighting for. You know that you're about to hit a breakthrough. With the Four of Pentacles here, this could be something that's being kept from you, especially with that heels energy. Maybe you're trying to open up to somebody and it's difficult. Maybe you're hoping for someone to open up to you. If that's the case, February is, the month of love because of Valentine's Day. I was on Twitter and they was like, it's like make a Scorpio day or something. And then the Five of Pentacles. I actually love this energy. With the sun at the bottom of the deck, I really love this energy. Because with the Four of Pentacles, it's so guarded, there's no space. There's no room for anything. With the Five of Pentacles, you can see that they're all nicely laid out. When they're laid out like that, it looks like seeds. And then here's the sun that's coming to nurture them. Whatever, like you stubbornly, and again, with that Five of Swords energy, it's you not giving up in a space where other people maybe think that you should. And so it may come across as like aggressively stubborn. But if you know what the divine is guiding you towards, or what the universe is putting you in a position to overcome because of what it leads to later, then that's when these things will blossom. And that's when these things will flourish. And then later, other people will see why it is that you were working so hard. And that's a Nine of Pentacles energy. It's really going to put you in a space to provide for yourself. I just saw the Lovers. The Lovers could be about making choices and decisions. And look, here's the Ace of Pentacles that would round this out to 10. And then the Seven of Wands is also here with the smaller sun. The Seven of Wands, it's a card of advantage. It's how we feel after we emerge victorious from something when we're on top of the world. That's also a ram energy. For all the rams at the, shout out to Capricorns, for all the rams at the top of mountains who are on top of the world. Quite literally in some ways. Bottom of the deck is the Strength card. So we got some Aries in the ram, we got some Leo in Strength. Only thing missing is Sagittarius. But I feel like in some way Sagittarius is coming through in that sun energy. Or maybe in this little sun with the Seven of Wands. Even though that's, another Leo card. I think the Seven of Wands, again, it's like really going to put you in a space of... I feel like after you accomplish this task, it's really going to put you in a space of knowing how to really devote time and energy and effort to something that's worth it, even if it takes some time. It's going to put you in a goat energy, basically. And because of this, it's like there are going to be other things later that maybe it would take a larger team of people to do, but that you'll be able to do with a smaller team or on your own, because you had the perseverance to continue when these obstacles were here. And it's not that you should necessarily need to do that. Maybe it just puts you in a position that's more on the lines of leadership. And to be in a leadership position with this, I feel like it would create a very interesting dynamic, because there may be some people that you lead who would think that it would be a little fruitless. But when it pays off in the end, they'll praise you for your insight and for your stick-to-itiveness. Yeah. And that I guess it's been a little bit of a minute now. But I'd never really felt the Five of Swords like that before. But when you know what you're doing, when the divine is telling you to do something, you learn to trust it. Bottom of the deck is the Feather. It says someone you know is undependable and insincere. Well, usually feathers are like good things. I guess not in the tea leaves. People like, if you see a feather, that's your angels. This deck is like, if you see a feather, someone in your environment is insincere and undependable. But with the harp, it's honestly giving me more angel vibes. So there's the cane, the dog far away, and the harp. The cane says, pay attention to your health. Dog far away is a distant friend is thinking of you. And the harp is great happiness. Now, with this distant friend and the harp, oh goodness. With pay attention to your health, maybe you've recently gained a new guardian angel. Hopefully not, but potentially. And I don't know if someone is like lying about their health because they don't want you to worry. Maybe it's like a parent or someone who lives at a distance from you and they don't want to inconvenience you. It doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. Maybe it's just someone who doesn't want to inconvenience you, and so they introduce distance here. And if they're in a lot of pain, then when they're not, that could be a good thing for them. It can be a relief. It still can be difficult dealing with transitions. So we're getting a little heavy over here. But also this could be angels. This maybe you are viewing your angels as a little unreliable because they're not. That's an interesting contrast to this energy, because this is an energy, again, with that Five of Swords, who will keep pushing through regardless. But it's like with this energy over here, it's like, oh, that's too difficult. Just like everybody said, like you gave up, and now you're viewing spirit as unreliable, and like this distant friend and this great happiness, that could be a little twin flamey, a little bit, just in the sense of like, you know, when is my DM gonna come back, or when is my DF gonna come back? I've been doing this and doing that, and like what you've been doing more than anything is waiting and looking at them or asking when they're going to come back, and you've been neglecting a lot of the things that you need to do for you. And I don't want to say in your obsession, but sort of in your obsession, there are other things that have sort of fallen apart. And so what it's done is it's introduced delay on your side of the equation, because there are still things that you need to know, still things that you need to learn, to the point where like if y'all did even come back together, it would just fall apart again anyway, probably for the same reasons it didn't work out the first time. And then you look at spirit as unreliable when you sort of pick and choose what it is that you hear. Potentially. But that could be anything. That could be us, like, you know, we want to manifest something. Spirit gives us the opportunity. We don't want to have to work hard for it. We don't want to have to grow for it. We don't want to have to heal. We don't want to have to do anything. We just want the stuff. And then you don't get the stuff because, again, it's all about preparing you to become whoever it is that you will be, or it's about getting you to position yourself to receive, working in conjunction with spirit, because spirit can't force anything on you or on anyone else. But you view spirit as potentially unreliable rather than yourself as unreliable, because you're not being truthful and honest with yourself. You are the one that's insincere here. Your great happiness was not a lie. That distant friend would have come your way. And with this cane, pay attention to your health. I feel like it's pay attention to what you're using as a crutch. It feels like the health is more mental, emotional, and spiritual. And there are these crutches and vices that you use to sort of keep yourself afloat rather than, again, doing the difficult work. Because, again, with chain energy over here, one thing leads to another always. And if you have, like, if you blow in the wind like a feather, if you have no staying power, then it's like you're the one that's unreliable. You can't rely on yourself to do what it is that you need to do to make your life better. All you can rely on yourself for is to make demands of other people, or to sit there and wait, I guess, and turn cold and harsh and bitter while you do it sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Three of Pentacles here. The Three of Pentacles is a card of collaboration. And no aligned Three of Pentacles energy happens with non-collaborators. So it can almost take a reverse energy, but I want to get a few more cards before I go all the way down this path. If it doesn't resonate for you, it doesn't resonate for you. So you don't have to take it. Right? Maybe that's why we get two of them in this. And I was literally just thinking Two of Cups at the bottom of the deck when I stopped. I was literally just thinking earlier. I was like, sometimes I give some like decently good messages, right? And it can be really easy to be like, oh, I claim that, oh, it resonates. But in most of my readings, the work is almost always featured. And so if the part of it where it's like you've been working, you've been growing, you've been healing, you've been doing the things that you need to do, and then like this good stuff is happening, it's like, I know I say take it as it resonates, but the way I read, if you haven't done the work, you probably won't get the reward. And then you're like, well, like that resonated, like why am I not getting whatever? And it's like, well, did you do the work part of the reading? No? Okay, well then that's why. Anyway, because it's all collaborative over here. I take a very collaborative approach to spirituality. And that's why I do my best to become the version of me that I need to be, to do, to enact, to initiate, to show up, to close, and to terminate. Because again, I believe that all spirit can do is put us in position to receive or place us in the vicinity of that opportunity. It doesn't do anything to force us. And so then it falls on us to do some things. And if we don't put ourselves in a mental, emotional, spiritual, or even physical state to collaborate the way that we need to ensure the success of that thing, then that falls on us. But so often it's like, why is spirit lying to me? And it's why are you not listening to the fullness of what it is that spirit is telling you to do? If spirit is like, if you clock in, clock out, you get $1. It doesn't matter how long you sit there and wait, and it doesn't matter if all you heard is, you get $1, because spirit says what it said, and spirit knows what it said. And you can try to find ways to circumvent and to navigate around, and maybe you'll make a little bit of progress. But hopefully the methods that you chose aren't going to blow back on you in a negative way, where you end up paying significantly more than whatever it is that you've received. And hopefully you don't succumb to greed or envy or anything like that while it is that you're seeking, because then it can really lead you to do some unsavory things. And justice will eventually be meted out. I hope no one who watches me is doing stuff like that, but to each their own. We all have our own paths. So, is that all? These cards, I don't even want to be on this energy. Oh, well, the sun just came out with the devil at the bottom of the deck. Ooh, that is not great. Not great. Whenever you're working with the devil, girl, you may think you're getting a little bit of sun energy. But when the devil sun goes out, it leaves you in a darkness that's whatever you were in before doesn't even pale in comparison to where you'll be after you collaborate with that. And the Seven of Swords energy. Yeah. Which is why I said be careful that your greed and your envy doesn't get the best of you. Because once you start to covet things that other people have, or once you start to work against other people's happiness or abundance, once you start to dip into someone else's energetic pocket to get what it is that you want, because you aren't an active participant in whatever your own process is, this energy will pay up front, but then charge so much more on the back end. And whatever you reap from that is what you have to reap from that. And the divine will allow it, because maybe that's a space now in which you will grow, because you didn't want to grow in the lesser costly ways. So now you get to grow by harsher, darker karmic experiences. So, not great energy over here, but this energy over here is fantastic. There's a little bit of a duality, dichotomy here. And again, it's all on you. Whoo, goodness. This is where I wish I had some smudge spray or whatever. Hold up. I got this, and I'm going, yeah. Ain't no way. Y'all can keep this mess. That's why I don't mind if it takes me a while to do whatever it is that I need to do. Yeah, we can. I'm sorry to laugh, but it's just like, oh no, no, I'm good. I pass. Y'all can have that energy if that's what you want to do. If those are the choices and decisions that you want to make, if that's what you want to plant in your garden to later have to eat when it's time to reap and it's on your table, then I respect your choice to do that. And I also respect the laws of causality that will bring back on you whatever it is that you have out there to claim. Okay. I just cleared it. All right. Had to breathe that out. All right. Final message. I'll just take this one that's upright. The ladder. It reminds me of Jacob's ladder for some reason, like Ascension. Bottom of the deck this time is January. Enero. How do you say January in Japanese? Ichigatsu? I think it's Ichigatsu. Where's Siri at? Hey Siri, how do you say January in Japanese?
In Japanese, January is Ichigatsu.
It is Ichigatsu. Okay. Ichigatsu. Nigatsu. Oh, here it is. Nigatsu. Ichigatsu. Excuse me. What was at the top? Oh, the ladder. The ladder came out. Ladder says climbing towards success. I like that. That's a nice, clean energy. That's a nice, clean energy again. And the thing about climbing for success, rather than just getting it, is it positions you to be more fluid and to be more expansive and to be an even greater participant when you get to the top. And it really is the gifts that keep on giving. It really does position you to get so much more than it is that you originally asked for, because it makes you capable. And when you're capable, there are certain opportunities that you see, since other people know that you're capable, opportunities that you're offered. And then, since you've done the work, it's like you are actually able to handle whatever it is. You know? There we go. Is that the whale? It is the whale. Okay. Bottom of the deck over here is the carrot. Carrot says opportunity or windfall. As I was talking about. Love that. And the whale is family wishes come true. This could be the space of generational wealth. Maybe your family has sort of been hoping for someone to break a certain generational curse, or to break a cycle, or to be the first to do this or to do that. And now you're actually going to be put in a position to create opportunities for the rest of your family. It's a very Ten of Pentacles energy, but from the space of the Ace. And the Ace came out here because it's the beginning. It's still the seed. It hasn't necessarily yet blossomed into the wealth that will be multi-generational with that Ten of Pentacles energy. But the seed is definitely planted. The beginnings are definitely here. And that's gorgeous. And it's you, because you've worked so hard to do everything that you've done. It's like you set that precedent. Oh, look, there's the Six of Pennies. You set that precedent. And then also within your family or in your local community, you show other people that it's possible. And so you become the gift that keeps on giving in ways that you may not even necessarily know. There could be people watching you fondly in ways that, and like you're encouraging them in ways that you don't even know. And in your mind, with that Five of Swords energy, again, it's like you may not be seeing the immediate payout. It could be like it would be so much easier to not, especially since I don't see anything good coming of this. But the divine rewards diligence. And you just, it's like it compounds. Just like interest or money, it compounds the longer it's out of your reach and the more you work for it. It returns very handsomely. Okay, two more. Who dat? Five of Wands. This is another energy of being a little bit scattered right now. Honestly, this Five of Wands, it feels like a Jack of many trades type of energy. So you may be wandering a little bit. You may feel like you're a little lost. But whatever it is that you're acquiring and accumulating, it'll probably benefit you in some way. You just don't see it right now. And then maybe if you acquire enough things, it's almost like it'll put you in a position to begin to, or to be able to start something new. Something very multidisciplinary. If that makes sense. If that makes any sense. Because it's like you're going to be able to put it together in a way that it maybe hasn't necessarily been put together before, because all of that information hasn't necessarily been in one place. Which is another benefit and reward to diligently following the path that the divine has laid out for us. So often it seems like we want to rush to the end, that we don't realize that the true wealth and abundance is found in everything that we acquire along the way. And then the physical is just the It starts with an A. What's that word? The physical abundance. It just verifies and validates whatever it is that you already have. Because now you're in a space where you can make it, where you can earn it, where it comes to you because of what you already have. So don't dread your path and stay vigilant. You're not Superman, and no one's asking you to be. All right, this deck is a halfer. It comes in 2 boxes. That should be good enough. I'll say it's good enough. On this half, we have the Devil with the 5 of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. It's a little sad because maybe that's some self-worth stuff. Maybe that's you growing up, never having whatever, and then people make fun of you, and so because of the less than fortunate conditions of your birth, you end up doing less than savory things, but you always have a choice. There are people who are born in worse conditions who don't do things as nasty as some people born in better conditions do. Not to say that you've done anything necessarily nasty, but it is to say that the conditions of your birth and the conditions that you grow in, it's not reason or excuse enough. It doesn't excuse any of the wrong or any of the bad that you do. Oh, somebody else hurt me like this. Somebody else did this to me. So that's why I started doing it to innocent people. To other people, every link in that chain is held responsible. Which means that you're also held responsible for the things that you do. Because again, you have a choice to be better. You have a choice to rise. We all have choice. We all have the knowledge of good and evil within us. On this side, it's the 6 of Pentacles with the 6 of Swords, which is completely coming out of that. And I love that because that's making the choice to be better than your environment and to not be as bad as the bad that was done to you. It's all a choice. It's not necessarily fair, but we all have the power of choice. And in that way it is. Whew! Well, yeah, I knew when I put those cards in the other box. I was like, this feel a little thicker than the other one. So there's more good than bad. I'll let the Devil chill with its fewer cards in that box because I still got this one closed. So hey. All right, that's what I got for y'all. I hope that you have a good whatever, whenever, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make that which you wish to experience your reality. And I hope that you will put in the due diligence where it's needed, where it's deserved, because you are worth whatever difficulty you have to go through to make your life and the life of your family and those who come after you better. You're worth it. Like, if you got to struggle for a few days, a week, a year, 2 years, multiple years, when you make it at the end of the day, you're worth it. I would say in general, it may be time to check your beliefs. Probably. I don't know. I have no advice. Because I don't know, if you listen to advice, maybe you wouldn't be doing some of the stuff that it is that you're doing. But once you get some of the blowback, maybe that'll be enough to get you to stop. And look at this. Look at my string. Look how red it is. This is a Tezo Passion Tea. It's like some hibiscus and stuff. The string is dyed red. That won't wash out. But there's still so much white left, right? It's not too late to turn things around and to do better. It's not. And at the end of the day, if everything is meant to be a learning opportunity, then maybe that's why you experience not great for doing not great things, so that you learn to do better. And you're like, well, Patrick, why don't I experience great for doing great things? Because when I do great, it seems like nothing happens or misfortune still happens. And to that, I say, I don't want to be like strengthen your faith, but I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But I do hope that whatever you need to do for yourself to make your life better in more savory ways, in sweeter ways, and kinder, more compassionate ways, and ways that are more rooted in self-love and respect and validation rather than the lack of everything that you have and the envying of what everyone else has. Like, I wish that for you. I wish you to be free. So, I'll catch y'all later. Bye. Hola, hola, hola. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás ustedes? Is that how you say it? I ain't take Spanish since like 5th grade. I don't know. How y'all doing today? Minna tachi, o genki desu ka? Ni hao ma? Woman double shoot. I don't even remember what woman double shoot means. Woman, I think that's us. Taman is y'all. Woman double shoot. We aren't. We are not. Let me ask Siri. Woman double shoot. Shoot abu shoot. I remember Sula shoot, but I'm like shoot abu shoot. Okay, come through. Chinese, Spanish, a little bit of Japanese. I don't know why I'm trying to be multilingual over here. 1 second, y'all. I'm really trying to pull up Google Translate right now. So, woman double shoot. Oh, from Chinese to English, already there. Woman double shoot. Not Shirley Sway. I don't think it did it. Hold up, wait. Woman double shoot. Not Wolfan double shoot. Woman double shoot. Wolfan double shoot is I am not. So I think it does mean we are not. I don't know why we are not. Maybe y'all ain't well, because I always say I hope y'all are doing well. Hopefully that's not the case. Okay. Tamang might be y'all, because I think Ta is, or is Ta her, him or her. Wo is I. I don't remember. Like I said, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since you've been gone. All right, let me reel it in. Let me reel it in, okay? Let's turn the dial on the old brain radio to divine. And let's divine some guidance from my peeps. I know on my other channel I'll be like, "What's up, Pirate Family?" sometimes, because it makes sense. Over here it's just real current song. I don't know. And I can't change the name. At this point, I don't think I would either, but you know. That's why I made a different channel, because I wanted my name to change and I couldn't change it over here. And the channel was exactly what I needed for the time I needed it. It was a space for me to dive in deeper and to be a little bit more spicy, to not sort of dilute as much. Now I don't dilute as much over here. So it served its purpose. Now I kind of want to elevate it into something else. That's just kind of sort of like my space to try new things or to tap into a different energy. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. I enjoy it. I haven't been uploading as much lately because, like I said, I do a lot more over here now, so I don't need to. And I'd rather, address a little bit more of the collective, potentially. I don't know. So, Lord Ganesha, whisper through these cards, what wisdom do you have for whoever may come across this video and pick deck 3, the Whispers of Lord Ganesha and the Tarot Apokalypsis. We're doing jumpers today. Honestly, I'm starting to feel a little nauseous and my head is starting to hurt a little bit. So, oh gosh. So it might be a little deeper. It may not be. Potentially. Priorities. Bottom of the deck is priorities. which is interesting. And the cards that came out, it's belonging, courage, and protection. This is interesting because I got a courage or drive vibe from the second deck. And I thought I was using Wisdom of Lord Ganesha for a second. And I was like, oh, like courage or drive is going to come out. But I was like, wait, no, that's pile 3. Well, here's courage. So we have belonging, courage, and protection with priorities at the bottom of the deck. Now, right off the bat, that could be an energy of a certain, like the people you surround yourself with, right? And you thinking, well, like maybe the people that I surround myself don't necessarily agree with this spiritual choice or this decision or that decision. But with priorities, it's about you prioritizing what it is that you want to feel and experience and to do whatever handling and adjustment needs to be done. Because with courage and protection and belonging, that's you finding that space that you can truly be yourself and you can be appreciated, and you having the courage to really step into that at the same time. At the same gosh darn time. Maybe not necessarily easy for y'all, but who is it easy for? Who is life easy for? And it's real easy for people to be like, oh, this person got life easier than me, and that person got life easier than me. And maybe they ain't gotta, worry about starving or worry about their lights or their power or their sanitation getting cut off. Maybe they ain't gotta worry about being out on the street. But life ain't necessarily easy for anybody. Necessarily. Maybe for the people who got it figured out a little bit, it's a little bit easier for them. But there's always challenge and difficulty no matter where, right? Just maybe a different kind of challenge. And again, I ain't saying that starving and being without shelter ain't a challenge, but 4 of Wands. Oh, snap. Well, what else y'all got then? Hello? This is somebody like maybe you found a place where you belong. You just need to have the courage and the strength to protect that and to really be in it. With the 4 of Wands, it looked like you already been found it. Maybe. Okay. Oh, that's some more Wands. That looked like the 10 of Wands. That's 14 Wands. That's the Temperance of Wands. We got the Temperance of Wands on the scene. It's like, yeah, but the timing isn't right. Like, we can't do it yet. Yeah, that's the 10 of Wands. Let me get one more, because I do want to read these, but I don't want to read a whole lot. This is going to be the reading heavy section. And I'm going to try to figure out how to put the timestamps in the actual video. So where you can just click on it and then like the timestamps will pop up on the side and you can click exactly where it is that you want to go. I don't know if I have to have more subscribers for that feature or if it's just somewhere in the studio that I haven't looked up yet. So I will be looking into that. I know I've talked about it in the past. I didn't look it up because I was like, well, I don't just see it and I ain't doing it. I will do it this time. I will put in the work this time. I'll give this 5 more shuffles. If nothing comes out, I'll just pick these 2. Okay, yep. See, every time I give it a deadline, just like old Patrick, it ain't until the deadline is there that cards want to start flipping in. 2 more. Last one. Oh, it actually came out at the top of the deck that time. The 7 of Wands. Oh, this is so Wands heavy. Bottom of the deck is the Chariot. We got all these Wands with the Chariot at the bottom of the deck. So that has taken us from the 7 of... Oh my gosh. We go from the 14 of Wands to the 21 of Wands. So we go from the Emperor of Wands to the Temperance of Wands to the World of Wands. The World of Wands is beautiful energy. No wonder why. And it's like it's a space that's so sacred and protected, it seems. With protection. Oh gosh. What does Sarah Bareilles say? I wanna see you be brave. With the Chariot right here. Come on, why would we not? Why would we not? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, but this is gorgeous. We got 41, 50, 20, and 30. 30 plus 20 is 50. And then that's a 5, and here's another 5. Courage and belonging. That's Hercules. Go the distance. Okay, I'm gonna read this one first. Protection. This card is really hazy. Oh my gosh, this is us in the foggy forest. When we find our peace, when we find our center, it creates a light of illumination that gets us to see a little bit more. Or at least we get to see what it is that we need to see, right? Protection. Protect your energy as you lift your vibration and frequency. As you continue on your spiritual path, you begin to lift in vibration and frequency, and you continue to experience new levels of love and light. Your energy body undergoes an essential transformation. These changes in the energy body require that past pain and limiting views of self be released. When this happens and the pain comes to the forefront of your experience, it can definitely feel like you're taking quite a battering. Ask Ganesha to surround you with his beautiful energy at this time. You may envision this energy as red, yellow, or white in color, or in any color that resonates with you. Imagine this energy is filled with love and light. It is said that Ganesha oversees the angels of protection. Ganesha's light energy serves to release any negative energy within its field into light. Visualize negative energy, entities, memories, or stuck energy being released from your spirit, mind, and body. When previous pain shows up, it may not be a clear-cut memory of a particular past event or a feeling of fear. Past experiences may be reflected in your current challenges and lessons. It appears in a form that will trigger you now, bringing up resistance and distraction to be dealt with immediately. Keep in mind to respond with love. You are assured that you will continue to grow and evolve through this challenge. Ganesha will assist you in protecting your energy for the best possible results. Oh, excuse me. I love it. I love it. Maybe with the Four of Wands, clarifying this protection card, emphasis on the orangey theme. I'm actually going to read it. I'll read it. Where'd the book go? I just had the book. Because with the Four of Wands, it feels like you coming into an energy of, into union with that more divine energy of love and light. More unconditional love and light. Hey, look, there's the Seven of Wands. Moses was taking a break for a minute, but I remember when I first got this deck, I was like, Moses keeps popping out on that Seven of Wands. Oops. I have made my inexorable journey. Let me make sure this is on here somewhat. I have made my inexorable journey across the sky, and with the sunset have begun to descend. But do not know me as weak or fading, for the path I have wrought in fire and urging will wind its way across the landscape of the universe for eons to come. My work is done, yet it is not yet done. My completion is not the end, but merely a foundation for greatness. Beneath my feet I have set steps leading down and a firm platform rising to the heights. Before me is arrayed the harvest of my labors, and I see with joy what my accomplishments have wrought. This is the essence of joy in abundance, to see your work and know its virtue, to form it and manifest it, to consolidate its power and fuel it for the journey ahead. For work begets work, just as my descent into the dark begets another birth. I am the Prince of Uniting. In me are chaos and order, love and war together. Their union creates life and power. The sunset calls to me and bids me look upon my lands and their abundance, feel the support of the red earth beneath my feet, and know that though I am at an ending, there are many more dawns to come. Until then, I celebrate and proclaim my joy for the world. Behold what I have wrought. And I'll read a few of these little paragraphs for you too. Since the initial burst of energetic creation in the Ace of Wands, this fiery suit has been growing increasingly powerful. The nascent spark of an idea and urge was expanded in the two. And look, it grows more and more powerful. Oh, wait. It goes back. It goes from 4 to 10 to 7. I thought it was 4, 7, 10. It culminates in the 10, but then it regresses to the 7. But this 7 is a card that foretells a Genesis, or an Exodus, sorry. It foretells an Exodus. I think that's the word I want. A great journey. It was because of the Pharaoh's lack to abide by whatever the divine was uh, demanding, I guess, through Moses, that set them on a path of going to find a land that was for them, because they wouldn't find what they needed in this land. And again, it carries this energy of maybe going to find a new space or creating a new space where you can be truly, authentically, 100% you, where you feel that sense of belonging. But it's going to take a lot of courage. And you're elevated. So, you deserve it. All right, sorry. The nascent spark of an idea and urge was expanded in the two, its horizon and potential tested, and plans for its growth made. With the three, this direction bore fruit and experience was gained. Now in the four, power, will, and the creative urge are given manifestation. Since the fours of the tarot are associated with the manifest world around us, the four corners of the earth, the four winds, the four directions, the four elements, and are a part of the Emperor's domain, each of them represents varying ways in which their suit is made firm, stable, and manifest. For the suit of wands, earth interacts as fuel, and a firm foundation on which to burn. Power is consolidated, mastery certain. As it is a card of manifestation, it brings with it celebration and thanksgiving, particularly on a community level. Now is the time to enjoy the fruits of one's labors. And so in that, I feel like in us sort of coming into this union with this more divine protective energy, it alleviates a lot of stress and a lot of worry in our lives. But with the world being what it is right now, a lot of people may be sort of trying to project uncertainty or fear, potentially, maybe not. But people may be trying to project their worries or concerns or fears onto you. Maybe asking you, how are you so certain? How are you so calm? How are you not freaking out? How can you still have the level of trust or belief or faith that you have? How can you not be so shaken? How can you not be so subdued and consumed by all of these energies just whirling around? And it's because of the work that you've already done. I mean, I guess I can't tell you what it is. For me, it's because of the work that I've already done that, I can be a lot more solid in the things and in the ways that I need to be, and that I can be, and that I am. For you, it's whatever you did. It's because of what you did that you are where you are now. Probably. And with this Four of Wands, like, that's worthy of celebration. And don't sacrifice, don't give that up for people who will almost never really come to that sense of peace, because in some ways maybe they don't even necessarily want it. It's like people who love to complain will complain about anything, no matter how good it is or how bad it is. They'll always complain. I used to be a complainer. Not necessarily a complainer like that, but I used to complain a whole lot more. That's one of the things that have decreased. Next is courage, from the French word cœur, which means heart. I know that because I've read this multiple times. Many a time. When I got this deck, courage used to be one of the ones that used to come out all the time, just like Moses in this one. It's nice to see the old frequenters return after a brief period elsewhere. Courage, the warmth of your open heart can give comfort to all who cross your path. 1 second. Excuse me. Maybe it's this ascending energy. It's like it's got my head hurting and a little and like minorly nauseous. I'm like, oh gosh. The root word for courage is cœur, which is the French word for heart. Courage comes from the heart. It is an inner strength, guided by love, which seeks truth and justice. When you have the courage to be true to yourself, you start to feel empowered to act and live in ways true to your own soul, without any illusion. Ganesha is urging you to let down your guard and stop wearing a mask. Begin to have more respect for yourself as well as for others. Beware of making harsh judgments about yourself and others. When you come from the heart, you will find that you relate better to others. Your innate gifts will be able to shine through. You are capable of leadership, achievement, and inspiring others to succeed through your own success. When you draw this card, it is a sign that your ability to cooperate and thrive in peer ventures with like-minded individuals is heightened. Be willing to do what is needed for things to run smoothly for you. Ganesha promises great success if you are willing to let down your walls. He is pictured here on the powerful lion, inherited from his mother Parvati. The lion represents the fierce nature of Ganesha. He calls on you now to trust the fearless part of your being, your own inner lion, and invites you to work with him to learn how to be valiant and harness your heart's great courage. I love that. And with this Ten of Wands, in that part where it said, where was it? Because that was it for me. Be willing to do what is needed for things to run smoothly for you. And so sometimes if you want it to come out smooth, you got to turn the blender up, right? And you hear that until, you know, it's a little shrill and it's a little harsh, but eventually things will break up. But with this Ten of Wands, it feels like a lot has been required or a lot is being asked, but like there's literally a whole pyramid on top of this. So it is an energy that the divine will not give you more than you can bear, would not give you a task that you are not capable of accomplishing or handling. It's not necessarily going to be easy, but again, I don't remember if that was the last group or if this was y'all. I think it was the last group. You're worth it. You're worth discomfort, and you're worth struggle, and you're worth pain, and you're worth putting in the work to make sure that you get where you want to be. You're worth that abundance and that peace and that stability and that love and that serenity that lies on the other side. You have to be that you have to believe that you're worth it for you. And you have to believe that you're worth it to do whatever it is that you need to do for things to run smoothly for you. Because while it may be more difficult to assemble the entire pyramid in one place, or why it may be more difficult to assemble the entire pyramid in one place and then have to haul the entire pyramid, more difficult to do that than to haul smaller, easier to manage stones to the site. But it's like in some weird mathematical way, it's the same amount of effort, but for a greater payoff in the end. It's almost like you suffer just as much when you don't do what it is that you need to do for you to reduce your suffering. But when you do what you need to do, eventually the suffering stops because you've handled it, because you've addressed it. Also, it could speak of things, difficulties that you've experienced in the past that will, in some ways, come to inform what it is that you don't want in relationships, in a community, in a job, in a partner, things of that nature. And if you already know that, then why is it that you continue to do whatever it is that you're doing? And what's interesting is the wands are behind the pyramid. So there's this 10th wand. There are 2 wands that are mostly hidden. But with the 10th one, it's like really almost behind there. If y'all see it on the end. Wait, this side. Down there. Y'all see that little wand right there? You can see the top of the wands in the flame. That's it. But this is also a card through the pyramid of rebirth and regeneration through the power of Isis. And there would be energies that sort of seek to revitalize dying energies that have run their course. There are things from your past that you are being put in a position to close out and to move beyond. Again, you have a world of wands here, but you got to make it through the temperance. Right now, we're at the temperance of wands. So courage is bringing us to the temperance. This is us doing what it is that we need to do to make things smooth, right? It's diluting, it's pouring light into the darkness to make it more light, to reduce the darkness, to reduce the weight of this burden, to make the nights a little more bright so that it doesn't cause such a fright, right? And then we come into the world of wands with belonging and the seven of wands energy. The seven of wands energy, this is what the divine is backing me, the divine is supporting me. You may be able to replicate some of the things that I do, but the connection to the divine cannot be replicated. And this, the staff, the sword, the snake that results from the staff of the divine will swallow the snakes from the staffs of the Pharaoh's court magicians. Again, here's the unity with the divine here. But here is actually like, it's one thing to be married to someone. It's another thing to actually go through sickness, to actually be there for the worst, to stick with it, to see it through, to remain committed and faithful until the health and until the better comes. You know, we say in sickness and in health, for better or for worse. But it's like things that we just say. With the world of wands, there's so much fire behind your words and your actions. And with this being a world of wands card, it's also aligned desires. Like your desires don't disappear. But it's like now you begin to desire things that are actually to your benefit, that actually benefit others around you. And it's a fulfillment that leads to further fulfillment. So belonging, number 41. Oh, that's innocence. That ain't belonging. Number 40 is spiritual quests. I am going to read priorities at the bottom because I don't think I've ever read priorities before. Belonging. Learn to find security from within. In this card, Ganesha uses the mouse as his vehicle. Here's the lion vehicle. I'm holding up the wrong card. Here's the mouse vehicle, or here's the lion vehicle. Here's the mouse vehicle. It reminds me of the lion's paw, where something as small as the mouse was able to help something as mighty as the lion. Whereas, you know, cats usually eat mice, this was a change on that dynamic. And again, there's an energy of changing dynamics. Okay. Ganesha, like, I don't discriminate. In this card, Ganesha uses the mouse as his vehicle, which signifies his triumph over the ego. In Hindu mythology, the mouse symbolizes the ego, for the ego can eat away at all that is good and decent in a person. Oof. Belonging seeks to solve the predicament of the ego's own perceived separation. Since the ego has no conscious memory of its connection to others and to source, you experience a need to get out of seclusion by bonding with the people around you. These people can be your family, peer groups, or your community. The ego is neither good nor bad, but simply a necessary part of you in this existence. Excuse me. The ego can manifest inclinations that are either more positive or more negative in nature. There are many positive aspects to belonging. You develop your ability to love, connect, bond, share, and care for others. You see yourself more clearly through the mirror of relationship. It is important in belonging that you not try to seek approval through others. Through this card, Ganesha is here to help you focus on the positive feelings from being a part of a community. Learn to trust, ask for help, and to rely on others. And then that's coming in with the Seven of Wands. And again, I feel like the Seven of Wands is more influencing, or more calling to the negative influences and aspects of community when we try to fit into spaces that aren't necessarily for us, when our own values and morals and ethics get compromised because of like herd mentality, or to focus on like a group consensus, to not introduce any conflict into a situation, into a dynamic that doesn't necessarily need it. And before I started this, my dad was watching Judge Judy, and I was out there getting some food, and there was this one case where this one dude was with his friend and somebody stole his girlfriend. His girlfriend dumped him and started dating somebody else. And the one dude got mad, so had his friend and like three other friends pull up on that dude. And I guess the dude, hit the car with a baseball bat because, if there are multiple people outside and you know that you have beef with someone, um, you probably assume the worst. And they wanted to sue the dude for damage to the car. And Judge Judy was like, no, and then the mom was there. And Judge Judy was like, no, your son, get your son to pay for it, but I'm not going to make someone else pay for something when, your son got a whole gang of people to be there. No, why would I do that? No. And then the son was like, I didn't really want to be there, but I didn't have anything else better to do, so I just went along with it. And it's it's time to stop just going along with it. With the Seven of Wands, the divine is asking you to stand. And there may be some who try to rise against you, but they will fall. And not in necessarily any super proud or egoic way, but when you're acting in alignment with what it is that you have to do, then other obstacles, they just fall away. They can't keep you from what it is that is divinely yours. Only you can sacrifice that, or only you can not pursue that. But they can't take it. No one can take anything from you, really. At least not spiritually. All you can do is forfeit it. And if you allow someone else to convince you to forfeit that thing, then still that's a choice and decision that you made. Especially when the divine is telling you don't do it. Hold your faith. Keep fighting. Keep moving. My word does not return void. Right? Number 30, priorities. Make the most of your time. Every day is a gift. You have the option to make the most of what life is offering you. If you long to create organization in your life, you will benefit from prioritizing. Your ideals determine what you will seek in life. Your priorities are most visible in how you use your time. Ganesha is holding the water lily and emphasizing the importance of your values. He encourages you to know what you truly want, what makes you happiest. There are always blessings that may not be apparent in the midst of a disappointment. Time is not something that can be saved for later. When it comes to the time allotted to you each day, you only have a limited opportunity. Make your choices about how you spend your time in accordance with your highest values. If you languish or procrastinate, the moment will be gone. Reevaluate how you have been spending your days and how you can strive to be more satisfied. In terms of priorities, for each major decision, such as education, occupation, place of residence, marriage, or parenting, you may ask yourself, what will be the impact of my decision? In all choices, make sure that you are certain of what your priorities are. Relate your goals to ways to bring love and blessings to yourself and the people who you share your life with. It's interesting. So we see Ganesha with two water lilies. One of them is red, one of them is white. Under priorities is capacity to love. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so cute. Okay. One of these lilies, it's kind of yellow, but I'm reading it as white. And the other lily is red. I'll read it as both yellow and white. So that's either a root sacral connection or a root to solar connection. Either way, that red lily is really grounding it. And again, how you spend your time is reflective of what it is that you prioritize. And there's an energy, it's calling you towards fulfillment. It may require some movement on your part. The Chariot is at the bottom of the deck over here. And I love that the Chariot is here, especially with the last card talking about ego. Fire is, in some ways, it's a soul element. In other ways, it can also be an ego element. Because it's what drives us. It's what drives how we think, how we connect, and how we show up in the world, and what we actually do, and what we acquire, and how we spend our time, and things of that nature, right? And the Chariot is all about aligning the ego and the spirit and really making forward movement. It's about being behind the wheel of your own life because there are things that you sort of take the I don't know the word. But you have the agency in your life to make your own decisions and to make decisions from a more whole place and from less of a place of like sort of more mundane desires or for appearance's sake, to get what someone else doesn't have or to get what someone else does have. It becomes more you centric. And again, when you carry this energy with you, it just naturally, especially if you're like grounding it with that red lily in the, I want to say in the root card, but in the priorities card, if you're grounding it, then it's like it benefits those around you. But this is all about your drive. With all of these wands, it's all about your drive. And there's a world of wands in the 21. 21 also breaks down to a 3. 3 is a very catalytic number. 3 is a number that leads to the creation of something new, but it in and of itself isn't necessarily changed, right? Like when two people come together to give birth to a third, one person is probably changed like very, very, very little to not really changed at all. The other person is greatly changed for the period of gestation of that baby and maybe for some time after. Maybe depending on complications or other things of that nature, it could be more permanently changed, but eventually they go back to pretty much the state that they were originally in. Or they go back to the state that they were in before the baby. And then the baby, that's where the miracle happens, right? Because the baby goes from non-existence to existence, while the other two pre-existing things return to the condition that they were in before the conception of that existence. So it's a very magical number, number 3. But it also doesn't work if we're not where we need to be and doing what it is that we need to do. A catalyst does nothing if the other reactants aren't there. Right? People aren't having like e-babies now. You can't impregnate someone using digital or psychological needs or whatever, you know. Means. Did I say needs? I meant means. And when you organize your priorities and you like get everything in line, I feel like it's gonna really accelerate you into whatever this next direction is for you. It's gorgeous energy with the chariot there. All right, so final messages for you, my pile 3s. This actually, so right now I'm at like an hour 42. I just saw 142.42. I thought using 4 decks it would be like an hour for each one, but it seems I'll be out of here in less than 3 hours. I hope that you are finding something resonant up until this point. Yes, worth it. Also, with the lion and the mouse, there is an energy of overcoming fears as well. And Ganesha is an elephant, so definitely overcoming fear in that sense. Over here, with the elephant on top of the lion, there's almost an energy of not being so aggressive, because I don't think lions naturally go after elephants, because an elephant will like stomp a lion or smack a lion with that trunk or kick a lion and send it flying, right? This ain't a wildebeest. But it's it's a non-threatening competitive. It's a non-competitive, non-threatening, cooperative energy here, and then it's an energy of conquering one's fears there, and then it's an energy of being above the world there. Because if you're not competing with anyone else, and if you're conquering your own fears, then what is there to? I don't want to say to ground you, but I thought I saw a card back in here. But it might not have been. No, it was this card. It was the title card. Okay. I haven't gotten the title card in this deck yet. I haven't gotten the title card in the Whispers of Lord Ganesha either. So final massage for the Pile 3ers, to the truth seers, to the true believers. that's quite a few. More wands. What? Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Wands. There's Moses again. Maybe I'll read it this time. Nah, I won't. The cards that came out: the Nine of Wands, the Queen of Cups, and the Ten of Pentacles. Everything is here except for air. The Nine of Wands in this deck. There's a full moon here. There's a child here. There's a very feminine energy. There's an inherited energy here. And maybe it's an inheritance of struggles or an inheritance of limitations. Almost like a generational curses type of energy. Like how sometimes alcoholism can run through a family. Mental or different health conditions can run through a family. Other addictions can run through a family. Things of that nature. And it's like she hasn't yet picked it up, or he hasn't yet picked it up. They haven't yet picked it up. But that wand is perfectly positioned for them to, just like they see their mother doing. Now I feel like it's raised in defense, but I don't necessarily know why. And then it also feels like it's raised in, I mean, that's still kind of defense. Oh my gosh. Whew. Okay, I'm going to. The more I dig into that, the more my head hurts. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to the Queen of Cups. So maybe this isn't necessarily. The Queen of Cups shifts this more to a generational gifts type of energy. Because I was getting this. It was a feeling of like the older, more mature person in the Nine of Wands raising their wand as if to call down something from the divine, or to, it's some kind of interaction with the divine, especially with that full moon back in the back. And now with the Queen of Cups with that big old moon behind her, it's like maybe the child didn't necessarily fully understand why the elder did as they did. But it feels like a lineage that is closely, there goes my hand, yeah, that is somewhat shaped with the divine, or formed with the divine in some way. Like for me, myself personally, like a strong faith is one of the generational gifts that I have. It's one of the things that's passed down through my family. And I've always had a strong faith. I've always had a pretty solid connection. What I struggled with for basically all my life until recently, or more recently, was not being lazy, was not procrastinating. Speaking of procrastination, it was putting the work into my faith to actually make things manifest. And sometimes I manifest opportunities that I wouldn't even take. Don't ask me why. Because I was triggered. It would trigger me, and it would make me put myself back in a small little box. But I recognize that a strong faith and a connection, a more personal connection with the divine, is something that I've also inherited. And it's something that, particularly in the women in my family, that I see. I also spent considerably more time with the women in my family. But in the way that they sort of live life, in the way that they interact and engage with other people, and in the ways that they sort of handle difference, I guess. And it's something that isn't necessarily extremely apparent, but knowing what I know now, it's something that motivates the way that they interact in those spaces. And then the Ten of Pentacles is here. The Ten of Pentacles, it speaks of an energy of like, kind of sort of getting me to think about what it is that I'll then pass on to my children. Or how it is that there's a little bit of like, ancestral abundance coming in with the Ten of Pentacles, what was put on hold, or what was growing and maturing with the Nine of Wands, with the Queen of Cups, that's you coming into the knowing that some of that abundance has been, like, it is intended for maybe your family in some way. Maybe your ancestors give it to you to, or maybe it's your charge from your ancestors, to establish for future generations, but also to help previous generations that are still alive, in whatever ways you can too. But with the Pentacle, it's like we have the connection and the vision with the Wands and the Cups, but how do we go about our day-to-day lives? How do we interact with the world around us, the environment around us, that speaks to that connection, and whatever connection you have? Because again, that will be what sets the tone for what it is that you bring into your experience. Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Wands again, which is that let my people go energy. Maybe definitely breaking certain generational habits and patterns for more healthy alternatives. And also, if you do come into a marriage or a commitment with someone else, then you also sort of pick up their, maybe not necessarily personally, but if you have children with that person, and even living with that person, I guess you're exposed to some of their generational things. And so it becomes a blending of families, which is why I guess, a lot of times you do a marriage before God, before the divine, and the divine sanctifies that, I guess, because it is that energetic, I guess, communion and then combination. So, yes. Lord Ganesha, what is the final message you have for? Well, I want to say for these heathens. That was a joke. We all, heathen in some way. Heathen, sheathen, bathen. Okay. Final message. Just like one card. Actually, I'll take this one. This one is Revelation, number 15. Bottom of the deck is Understanding, 13. So we have Understanding and we have Revelation. I love these energies together because I think sometimes we get a revelation, but we don't fully understand it. Or like we don't know how to put it to use in our lives, like in our practical day-to-day lives. And that's kind of what that Ten of Pentacles was about, right? After the Nine of Wands and the Queen of Cups, like, well, how are you going to change your practical day-to-day, everyday life that sets you firmly, physically, in the 3D on a path to claim this multi-generational abundance? But this is understanding that revelation. Oh, gosh, I love that energy. I'm such a fan of that energy. I'm going to read Revelation. I don't know how often I've gotten Revelation in this deck. Anything I noticed right off the bat, his belt is, I think that's his belt, or his, oh, no. It's super cosmic, this Revelation card. And his crown is kind of lit. I mean, his crown is lit, because even his hand is glowing. I'm playing Persona right now, and in the Ganesha Persona, they say that, and of course Ganesha is the son of Parvati, but I think it was like he was initially born with multiple heads. I've seen some depictions of Ganesha with multiple heads, but it was like Shiva kicked off one of them and replaced it with an elephant head or something. I don't remember. But it's super cosmic. This is very like God is a woman type of energy. Ariana Grande, Ariana Ganesha. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was probably super sacrilegious. I apologize. I'm so sorry. But it is giving me like God is a woman vibes because he's like sitting there in front of the cosmos. Really getting that understanding of the cosmos with understanding at the bottom of the deck. So, Revelation. Get ready for key changes in your external and internal worlds. You have come to the end of a cycle, and it is time for you to create something new. Through this card, Ganesha is indicating that it is time to break down some of the structures that you have created in your world. This has the potential to feel painful and challenging if you resist the process. This revelation coming to you may relate to your ego and your illusion of separateness from others. You will develop a new perspective on things, and your revelation will help you grow stronger, wiser, and more composed. You might encounter some challenges along the way, but these are necessary for your spiritual growth and enlightenment. Honesty will bring about a positive change, even if you experience some pain and anxiety throughout the process. When you begin to reach for your goal, you will come to realize that your true security and strength lie within yourself and your relationship with the universe, and not in some false belief system or artificially created world. Be willing to reveal your truth to those around you. Ooh, goodness. Well, that's what I got for you, Deck 3ers. I hope that y'all are doing well. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make that what you wish to experience your reality. I hope you find the courage and the bravery in yourself to do what it is that's best for you. Sometimes going through difficulty or going through challenge is one of the most defiant, most important acts of self-love that we can, do or perform for ourselves. And it feels like there's going to be a lot of realization of self-love and maybe some realization of a love for others in your environment in this. And it can be a little scary, especially if you don't know how things will necessarily be perceived, or if you don't know how the revealing of something will completely change and alter certain dynamics forever, potentially. Or if there will even be a dynamic after the revelation of that truth. But if it's something that the divine is calling you to do, again, like the revelation card said, the more you prolong it, the more painful it'll feel. So a moment of strength and courage begets many, many, many more moments of bravery sometimes. Sometimes it takes an initial push where we think we're the bravest, but then there's not fallout, but there's things to follow up with that we need to continue to be courageous and brave for afterward. And if it's something that you know that you need to do, then I feel like you'd also have the capability of doing it, as long as you believe you do, right? Sometimes you don't know how capable you are until you have to be that capable. This may be one of those times. So have strength, strong one. Bye. Okay, and last but never ever ever least, Dex 4. We're just going to dive into this. Let's explore Dex 4. What's more, let's put a little forethought in before, shall we? Just a little bit of forethought. You ain't got to give it too much. Like, you ain't got to overthink it, but they say that fortune favors the prepared. Not only the bold, but fortune also favors the prepared. Right? A word to the wise type of energy. Kawaii emptor type of energy. I don't know what that was. Hopefully I didn't just lose a card. Oh, crap. Well, I don't think I lost the card. Let's see. Gotta count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1. Maybe it's time to take inventory and take stock for you as well. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 55. Honestly, I don't know how many cards are supposed to be. How many cards are supposed to be in this deck? So that wasn't necessarily helpful. Also, Ascension at the bottom of this deck. And Release. Release and Ascension at the bottom of the decks. That's powerful. I haven't seen either one of these cards. Okay, well, Surrender was... Oh! They're different at the top than they are at the bottom, so I can tell when these are in reverse. Surrender had to be the last card of last time. Let me see if it tells me. Is this like a 40 or a 55 card deck? Oh, goodness. Well, it's definitely not even looking. I'm just going to say a total of 55 cards. Okay, got it. Got it. So it was there. It was there. The information is there. When you really, you'll find whatever it is you seek. If you seek to validate what it is that you already believe, you will find further proof. If you seek the truth, you'll find the truth. Sometimes we say we want the truth, but in reality, we just want for whatever we already believe to be validated so we can tell other people that we're right. Or so that we can feel right, you know? Okay. Oh, goodness. You can't handle the truth. Bottom of the deck is the Outlaw. Bottom of the deck is the Outlaw. There's no spur on this boot. There are some cactuses and some mountains, but no spur. No spur. Self-Love is the card that came out. With the Peacock. Ooh. Self-Love and the Outlaw. This is potentially heavy. Why do you feel like it's... I mean, in the world and society that we live in, just self-love in general is pretty... it is an act of rebellion in a world that will get you to view yourself as not worthy enough so that you buy this or buy that or slave away at this and dedicate your life to that. I mean, there are too many things that profit and benefit off of you not being in a space of loving yourself. Too many industries erected around that, right? And then the whole price thing. Oh, it's more expensive, so it's more exclusive. Poor people don't have this. It's like, okay, well, so I'm gonna buy this just so people know I'm not poor. Okay. So this is, for some people, that it has worth and it has value just for them to look like they have money. But in my mind, it's like, if that's the only thing that makes this better, like if there's not an increase in quality for the increase in the dollar, then I don't care what I look like. All right. Anyway, let's come over here to the Ascendant edition of the Weaver Tarot for self-love. I'm doing jumpers today. Or stickers out. I don't know why hangers on just popped into my mind. Maybe there's something that you hang on to, or someone that you hang on to, or someone that hangs on to you in a way that almost validates them or something. And it's different to be validated by someone else. There's a difference between being validated for someone else and seeking validation from someone else, right? Who you are being affirmed because someone appreciates you for who you are authentically, and that for you is validating. There's a difference between that and needing recognition from other people. Validation implies that you already have an understanding and appreciation, and you find that understanding and appreciation in someone else as well. This isn't something that, it's self-love. We don't get it from other people. And it don't matter how fancy or expensive or exclusive your things are, you can't buy self-love. I'm not feeling this for y'all, I guess. So that was just a message. Love yourself fearlessly, fiercely, regardless. And we're gonna shuffle again. If it's meant to come out, it'll come back out. Trust me. Cards were like that. They're like, I keep seeing this card and I didn't want to take it, but it finally came out. Actually, I think I'm gonna get the tarot first, and then I'll get the oracle after. That's how I'm feeling it. Sometimes you just gotta feel it out. There's this feeling in the heart space area. It's like my chest feels tight. And it feels like it's a little hard to breathe. I don't know what that's about. Well, that's a few cards. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Two of Swords. So it could be that space of indecision. Or it feels like a choice that you know that you have to make. Or it's a decision or a choice that you've already made but not being able to speak it type of energy. For whatever reason. The cards that came out, it's the Eight of Cups and the Five of Swords. Ooh. Oh my gosh, I feel a tightness in the chest around the heart area, and it's a little hard to breathe. And look, the lungs and the heart are both pierced by those swords. So, Eight of Cups. You've already made your mind up in some way. You've already moved forward in some way, but it's not necessarily being communicated necessarily truthfully or honestly. And again, I guess the predominant question is what happens if it changes certain dynamics. So in the Five of Swords, I'll dig into this a little bit. There are 3 swords, 4 swords actually, piercing the lungs. 3 swords piercing the heart. The 5th sword is on top of the lungs, so it only pierces the heart. It doesn't pierce the lungs. It's almost like there was a certain pain in your past that you've made peace with, that you've predominantly healed from, but there's something that you're not saying, something that you're not speaking, you're not fully living the healing that's happened. And so it keeps you in a not great space. There's 7 swords overall, because there's 2 more swords over here. It feels like this is a battle between your intuition and your ego, but the ego space is more like fear or anxiety or worry. Whereas the divine is trying to assure you that all is okay. I feel like with this Eight of Cups, you've already put distance between you and what it is that you went through. It seems like you already have that higher perspective. But it's just living it out in some way. And remember how I said how defiant of an act self-love can be in a society like today. It also almost feels like an energy of like when someone tries to make you feel bad or guilty about something that you have moved beyond. And it's not that you don't, like, you're not necessarily being dismissive of the thing. It's just that, like, you're not going to beat yourself up forever. Like, you understand why you made the choices and decisions that you made and the time that you made them. And it's like, well, the other person isn't necessarily perfect either. And it's like they want to keep doing a karmic dance with you, but you are ready to leave that cycle behind. And so emotionally, you've sort of moved on. Spiritually, you can now see, but something keeps the heart stuck. And I think it's the pierced lungs. Lungs are all about gas exchange, and gas exchange is communication. And there's thorns around this heart, so it keeps it sort of all brambled and bruised. It's time for you to speak your truth. And it's time for you to experience life in a more healed way. And to whatever part of you or whoever in your environment that's trying to keep you stuck in a space that you're no longer in, it's time to give it up. I remember, it reminds me of like when I stopped being afraid of my dad's dog whenever I would go visit him. But I would still act like I was afraid. And so it's like, by that point, he was getting older and he wouldn't just be outside anymore. He was like a house dog. But when I came to visit, he would go back outside because I wasn't living in the space of not fearing him anymore. And so it probably put him out. And he was a really cool dog. So that was some time that I didn't get to know him. And it was in recent years, like the last few times, or maybe just the last one time I visited, when I was like over it. And he was like kind of blind by that point. But then he ended up passing before I went back. And I was like, well, I'm glad I at least was over it long enough to realize how cool and chill of a dog he was. And it can be that, but like extrapolated to any situation. Right? Maybe another part of this pain is you not living or missing out on what it is that you know is for you because of the things that you're already over, but you continue to hold on to and act like you're not. Can I get one of these for this, please? These are not wanting to talk at the same time. What is happening? Maybe there's just like a lack of communication going on. Maybe there's like a lack of communication going on in general, because I can't get both of these cards or both of these decks to talk at the same time. So I'm going to come back over here and Chariot at the bottom. I think things are going to begin moving. What's at the bottom over here? Manifest over here with the Chariot at the bottom over there. Okay. So things are definitely about to begin moving. Compassion and manifest. And look how similar those two cards are. I don't know if you can see them. All right, now let's talk together. The floor is now open for communication. We ask participants to remain truthful and honest. And that in this space of truth and honesty, that's a whole lot of cards. I ain't taking all them. I'm sorry, I ain't doing it. And in this space of truth and honesty, that we remember not to take anything said too personally, especially if we're more so communicating about the space that we were in because of the past and the resultant healing that's transpired. Bottom of the deck is versatility. Look a little bit like a marijuana leaf, and that's probably by design because it has lots of different purposes, apparently. It does lots of different things. That CBD oil, y'all know about that CBD oil? Reflect. These two birds remind me of the Lover's card in The Wild Unknown. And then the third eye is looking up. I think it's time for that communication. And like I said, like if we're coming together in this space of honesty, and if we're talking about the place that we were in before, it's like don't be too hard on yourself about it now because, more healing has happened. Things have changed now. Like now we're good. I'm the type of person that likes to sort of sometimes maybe give a little bit more context than is necessary. And so sometimes if I bring up the past, because like in me, that's how I realize that something has changed. And so if I say something about the past, like at least let me finish. Because I may be talking about how I noticed that things are different now. Potentially. Bottom of the deck is the 8 of Swords. So we've graduated from the 5 to the 8. And I was feeling an 8 of Swords energy, probably because of the 8 of Cups, but I didn't say anything. Well, here's the 8 of Swords right here. The Wild Unknown also had the 8 of Swords at the bottom of the deck, I think, as I put it away. And that was, what, deck 1? Excuse me. So we have the Ace of Cups and the 10 of Swords. I actually love the 10 of Swords. And the 10 of Swords came out for the Wild Unknown again. The 10 of Swords, the 10 of Wands, the 3 of Wands, and the Son of Swords came out. All right. So I'm going to look at Reflect. Is that a song? 84, number water. Number water, yes. Water, number 84. Goodness, I'm sorry. Oh, brain. Oh, brain. Yes, 84, number water. Exactly. Exactly. Number water. Okay. Here's 82. 84. 84, what is that? Hachujuyong? Leo, sorry. What is 84 in Chinese? 1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、9、10。八是1、2、3、4、4、8日4 maybe 1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、8、9、10 so yeah 84 maybe. I don't know why. I'm sorry, y'all. Little Chinese lesson. Potentially, if I'm not wrong. Okay. Reflect. Without, oh my gosh. Without a reflective practice, we end up repeating the same patterns over and over again, unable to reach our potential. This card asks you to sit in silence for a few moments and reflect upon what has been coming up for you recently. What emotions do you find yourself experiencing continuously? What situations do you find yourself in often? If you are finding unease in any area of your life, have you experienced it before? When? When was the first time you remember feeling this way? How did your family handle these sorts of situations when you were young? Consider journaling around these questions and allowing whatever needs to come out to come out. When we reflect, the intention is not to fix, but simply to view ourselves and our lives with less bias and more openness. Swan is a very helpful companion when doing reflective work, as they encourage us to be gentle with ourselves, reminding us that transformation is always possible. She asks you to examine how you treat yourself when doing internal work. Is it with a sense of shame or harshness? Or do you approach it with a sense of wonder and gentleness? Call upon the spirit of Swan to hold loving space for you and to guide you in cultivating tenderness toward yourself. Goat's Beard, also known as Jack Go to Bed at Noon, teaches us about setting a container for our reflective practice. Unlike flowers that open to the sun and close at night, Goat's Beard has peculiar behavior. It blossoms open to the morning sun, but closes around the middle of the day. It should be the same with inquiry and reflection. If we are reflecting all day long about every single thing, we probably won't get much done. In fact, we may find we have less clarity. We want to find a balance with this practice so that we remain clear and also empowered to take action on what we find within ourselves. Because of its high magnesium content, magnesite is a powerful aid in releasing the old. When it comes to our reflective practice, it is incredibly supportive in meeting the truth of ourselves while remaining a positive mindset. When we do internal work, it is easy to get overwhelmed or feel cloudy, but magnesite teaches us how to continue to do our work while remaining clear. Not only that, magnesite helps us penetrate the layers of our own defenses, allowing us to reach the root of an issue. Call upon Magnesite when you need help doing your work in a productive and easeful easeful place. Maybe this is a conversation that you need to have with yourself before you even begin to try to have this conversation with someone else. And maybe trying to have this conversation with someone else before you've more fully reflected yourself doesn't necessarily benefit you, but also maybe it does. Um, because maybe you have a conversation and maybe you reflect and you think that it's done, but then when the issue comes back up or when a different issue comes up, then you're able to sort of reflect more, and it just uncovers more and more and more. And in some ways, it's like it puts us in a position to really see how deep some roots go, how deeply rooted some things are in us, and how it impacts us in ways that maybe initially we didn't even think. Right? Potentially. With the Ace of Cups and the Ten of Swords, it feels like it's an opening and an opportunity for a brand new beginning. Again, with the Ten of Swords, it feels like we've done what we needed to do mentally in order to put certain things to bed. And what will really round out and what will complete that healing is to begin moving forward in a new way, in a different way, in a way that is more reflective of that resolved space rather than continuing to live or make decisions from that place, although we've healed it in some ways. And with the Ace of Cups, it's like this whole new emotional and spiritual experience is open to you. And I think through that process of reflection, I think you would really begin to see how different you are and how much has actually changed. Now, moving forward in a new way will, of course, require some courage and some bravery. And just because you may struggle or be a little anxious doesn't necessarily mean that the thing isn't as healed as like you think it is. Again, what really cements and anchors in healing a lot of times is us acting in alignment with the healed version of us rather than the tortured or tormented or scattered hurt version. And then again, with the energy of like when reflecting too much can be a little bit more detrimental than positive, I think that's when we go in and like we start to undo some of the work that we've done when that isn't necessarily like the case, you know? And with the Eight of Swords, it's like it prevents us from seeing it because we're preventing ourselves from experiencing it. And once we really begin to exhibit the courage and bravery to begin experiencing it, we'll begin to see how healed we are, how ready we are for the next chapter, how promising everything is. And versatility, it's like even if we aren't completely healed, it's this energy of like we're healed enough to move forward, we're healed enough to begin. And then maybe as you're operating in that new space, just as those things blocked you in many areas, when you heal that, it will open up new areas for you as well. And so you may expand into things or be interested in things or gravitate towards certain things that you would never necessarily give yourself the opportunity to. Well, now that's because you've given yourself the opportunity to experience other things or to align with other things or to accept certain opportunities that you would never before. Then the follow-ups and the branching opportunities and even ones that come out of the woodwork in ways that you would never expect because you've braved in one area, you can now brave in this area as well. And it just adds to the richness of life. So that's this. I'm glad we finally got both of them to come out with something. I'm going to get the final messages now, the final cards, and then I am going to wrap up this video. Also, what's interesting to note is this ribbon here was around the eyes on the skull and the Two of Swords. But the third eye was left uncovered. It's not about what you see with your physical eyes or what you perceive of with your brain. because Spirit is trying to get you to see more. Spirit is trying to get you to see beyond. Spirit is trying to put you in a place to experience things that you've never even dreamed of because you were too limited. Because you didn't know how far the roads go. You didn't know what lied beyond the horizon when you never moved in this direction. You thought it ended in one place, but it goes on so much more. It gives in so many ways. It's so enriching and refreshing and nutritious and delicious. There we go. Thank you. Bottom of the... okay. Yep. Bottom of the deck is soul work, and versatility is under soul work again. I've read soul work before. It's basically you being on path. Also, with the Queen Bee, there's an energy of things that aren't necessarily... It's like things that work for your benefit, but you have to release them to go and do. Like the Queen Bee doesn't micromanage what all of the bees do while they're outside of the hive, especially if they're... It's like she's results based. And so as long as the ends are being met, then she allows the worker bees to do whatever it is to approach their work and whatever it is that they approach to get them to the result. Because their approach may be different from her approach, but if they followed her approach, it wouldn't necessarily be as productive for them. So it's about accepting that, others have their work as well. And trust is the card that came out. And this is like, these are things that have happened in the dark with this moth energy. And there's also a certain element of attraction here, like moths to a flame. But that transformation, that change has happened in many ways. You just have to, especially like if you've done it, if you've done your soul work, then you're probably aligning with other people who have done their soul work as well, or who are in the process of doing their soul work, because in some ways it's never necessarily over, because we're always learning and growing and evolving and changing, right? Maybe we've reached the space where soul work is more about that versatility. It's more about branching out into new things than it is about healing, because we've healed the majority of what it is that we need to heal. And honestly, I don't think it's necessarily an energy that we've too much maybe have an ability to comprehend, because I don't know how much of religion or spirituality was sort of focused on actually addressing the things that happen to us. I think a lot of times it can be us trying to like overwrite those painful things with other things. But there are some things that if we don't fully address, then we'll always sort of carry that scar with us. And that's what the scar is. The scar is just a reminder that, maybe there's a little bit more in here that you can heal. But at the very least, we want to be functional. So we become functional enough to enter the rat race once again, and then, we think we're good until we're not. And there are certain things that we always carry with us, especially like loss. That's one of those things that never necessarily gets easier. As far as like, when you're reminded of someone and they're not there, and you really want to share that with them, but they're no longer there. Like that's a pain that it may feel as fresh as when we were first wounded, but it may not necessarily be every day. Anyway, it can be new. I think we can heal a lot more than we think we can. Final message from the Weaver Tarot, the Ascendant Edition. There we go. Bottom of the deck is the Star. Speaking of healing. Sorry. The Star, it made me feel good. And Judgment, the Star with Judgment, exactly. I don't even have words for that. The Star with Judgment. That's what I'm gonna end that on. Soul work, and what was the other card? I don't remember. The Star with Judgment. Or Judgment with the Star, because Judgment is the card that came out. The Star is at the bottom of the deck. But that's what I got for you. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make that which you wish to experience your reality, because for those who do, it is very much so possible. It just sometimes on the front end requires us to handle some difficult things, deal with some difficult things, address some difficult things, and to put ourselves in a position to not be as fettered by them anymore. It really opens us up to make choices and decisions that require less bravery because we're more healed. But healing is something that's practiced, just like hurt and pain is something that's practiced. So I bid thee adieu, and I hope that I will see you again, I guess. Bye.